Hi guys, today I've got fan art of the final boss from Yoshi's Island. Yoshi's Island is a game that is very near and dear to my heart. It's just wonderful, like everything from the gameplay to the art style to the characters. It's aged very well for a game that's as old as I am, and I highly recommend it if you're looking for a game to play because, gosh, it's a classic for a reason. It's so wonderful, and I had to draw fan art to celebrate it. Actually, the real reason I drew this piece was because I wanted to apply to Con Bravo, which is a video game convention held in Hamilton, Ontario. Unfortunately, I did not get in, but by the time I figured that out, I had already planned out this piece and I had actually started working on it, so I decided to just finish it anyway, despite not getting into the convention, because hey, maybe I can sell this as a print somewhere else some other time. Possibly. I don't know if it would do well at an anime convention, but hey, some people play games and also watch anime, right? I do. Anyway, so I decided to draw the final boss because to me this is just such an iconic image from the game. Just Baby Bowser looming over you with the moon in the background and the clouds and the sunset. It's a beautiful image, and I wanted to draw it in my own style, in my own way. So I changed the perspective up a bit, and the rest I kind of kept the same because I wanted it to be recognizable as the final boss fight. I really wish I had drawn Baby Bowser and Yoshi in more dynamic poses. The way I drew them, they're kind of stiff looking, and I'm not super happy with how they turned out. I'm happy with the coloring and the background especially. I don't usually do backgrounds, so this was a plus for that. But yeah, I don't know, he's not looming enough. And Yoshi's angry, but aside from his arms, his feet are kind of just standing there, and yeah, so I'm not totally satisfied with this piece, but hey, I learned a lot while doing it, so I guess it's not that bad. I really wanted to emulate the texture in the game's art style, the crayon-like one, so I used this brush. I believe it's called Chalk, and it's part of the Dry Media default brush pack that comes with Photoshop. I used it because I wanted a really subtle kind of texture that made it look slightly more like traditional media, but it still gave it a digital painting look, and this was the perfect brush for it. I actually learned about this brush from a YouTuber called Walking Melons AAA. She did a really great tutorial on digital painting that I watched, and I highly recommend you check it out if you're interested. I'll leave a link to it down in the description, but she's a really good digital painter, so it was a very useful tutorial, and she only uses this one brush for everything she does, which I think is very impressive. Her tutorial also really helped me learn how to blend better. Before, I just used pen pressure for the brush size, but then when she said that you could use it for the brush opacity, at first I was pretty skeptical because a lot of brushes have built-in opacity changes, and I thought, well, why don't you just use a brush like that? But toggling this feature on and off can help make a previously useless brush actually pretty useful. Like this chalk brush I find is pretty useless if you don't have the opacity toggle on. So yeah, if you're a bit skeptical about it, I just say try it and see how it is, because once I tried it, I was like, wow, I can see why you would use this for an entire piece. This is so useful. And yeah, now I'm just going in with the shading. I tried to make this shading darker than I usually do because that's something I struggle with. I think my shading skills are okay, even if they don't make a crazy amount of sense in this piece, but at this point I just wanted to get it done. But the shading itself is often not dark enough, so I really tried to have intense lighting here, and I think that much succeeded. At least I'm happy with how the highlights turned out. I never do highlights, so that worked out pretty well. And I'm happy with most of the coloring on Baby Bowser. I think the metal rings with the spikes on them could have been way better, but I was getting really bored. And now I'm on Yoshi! Yoshi was fun to color, if only because he turned out pretty well, despite my weird shading. Like, yeah, I put those highlights there, not because they would actually make sense, but because I found he was blending into the egg a little too much, despite the color contrast. And I just wanted to make sure that you could see Yoshi in all his Yoshi glory. And yeah, his lines were pretty sketchy, so I spent a lot of the time just cleaning those up. But overall, I'm really happy with the coloring on Yoshi. He's my favorite part of the piece. Baby Mario, not so much, but Yoshi's good. Baby Bowser's okay. Baby Mario, we'll talk about him never. Anyway, that's about all I have to say for this piece, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!